So I mentioned in another video that I would talk a little bit about kind of the utility tools that we used on this latest room build. And there were, I guess, four. We'll say there's four main utility tools that we built. Two of them, well, I guess there's none of them actually are used in the room, and I guess that's why I'm calling them utility tools. The first one is the tag writer. So it's its own piece of hardware, an ESP with an RC522 on it, an RFID reader that sits in the Game Master room, and you can tap any RFID tag on it, and it reads it and tells you what the number is to the thing, because like I mentioned in the other video, that's how I'm handling tags. I don't care about the actual UID on the tag. Instead, I'm writing a number to it, and then all of my things just go look at that same block and say, what's your number? What tag are you? This way I can have multiples, I can have ones in different rooms, I can specify whatever I want, I can lose tags, I can have backups, and I'm not having to keep this big database of like, these are my tags. So a little bit backwards of how, like, usually when you get an RFID prop, it's, hey, learn this tag. Instead, I'm teaching this tag. This is what you need to be. But the tag writer you take any tag, you tap it on it, you can see what it is in the Game Master screen on that little web page, and you can also choose what number you want to write to it and write it, and then that's how you make new tags or rewrite props that have gotten lost or whatever. Next utility is the Pong emulator. So we talked about the heartbeat and how everything, like I'm sending out pings, they're responding with pongs. If I don't get a pong fast enough, then I say the prop's dead and power cycle it to bring it back online. And then I'm looking for an online message, and then I start the pings again. The Pong emulator is how I get away with, hey, this prop is down, stop resetting it. It's working in whatever way, or ignore it, or stop clicking the relays, or especially while working on the room, I need you to ignore this prop because I'm working on it. I need you to stop power cycling it, or whatever the reason may be. I want to defeat the heartbeat. And so it has the ability to turn the system, this service, I call it, on and off. So the Pong emulator can get turned on and off. It has a thing called wildcards, where if it's turned off, then it's just responding to the ones that's been told to respond to. If you turn on wildcards, then it says, look, any ping message appears, I will respond to it, and it just does it automatically. And if you don't use wildcards, which wildcards was good in the early days of the build, but not anymore, now you have an include list and an exclude list. So you have the ability to say, hey, wildcards except for this one. So you can exclude it, say, respond to everything except this one. I actually want to know if that one goes down. And then you could also do includes, where you say, nope, you don't need to respond to everything, just respond to this one, this one, this one. So for instance, like my fuse panels, we talked about the fact that it's 10 different readers, 10 different ESPs. If I'm having a problem with one of them, I don't necessarily want the other 9 going all the time. Maybe I just want to tell my Game Master, hey, this one's having a hard time reading that. It's not connecting at the moment. So the other ones are all going to be right. Just look at that one, and when that one's right, you can go ahead and push. So at that point, I could enter that one's name into the include list, turn on the service, and now the system will basically respond to its own ping, keeping it from actually thinking that prop is offline. It defeats the heartbeat purpose on that one, but keeps it from constantly power cycling the others. Another utility we built was a inputs emulator. So we have a lot of dry inputs. We have 4 different servers in each room, 4 different Arduino Megas in each room, which is a bunch of wires, and that's reading reed switches and cabinet latches and all sorts of stuff coming into those. Just all of our dry contacts. It's not a prop. It's not button module or faders or RFID or anything like that. It's just dry, either touching or not. Reed switches type stuff. Those are all just hitting those input servers. Just coming in. A input server is its own prop. It has a heartbeat. It has all of that. And again, we got 4 of them on each side. And that's less about straight pin count, more about having them where we needed them for wiring purposes. Where am I bringing each of these wires, consolidating that back? But when it came to the time to test it, especially as I'm testing it on the bench in my desk, I don't have the room built yet. I'm just programming everything out. What we did, we built a little Python tool using tkinter as the UI interface that can act as each of them. So I basically get a bunch of buttons, and I can say, cool, this reed switch closed and opened and closed and opened. And that goes through all my MQTT paths, pretends that it's one of the servers, says it out onto that path name, to the world, gets caught by the server, gets processed through the whole path as it will, tells QLab to do its thing, and lets me emulate the room, basically. And then the fourth tool was also another version of emulator, but it's the prop emulator. That one lets me straight up emulate a prop, so I can go in and do the same thing as the inputs, but with all the other props. So I can say, cool, I'm the mic sensor, and I read this tag. And then the whole system can respond to that, put that through the whole path. QLab can do its thing. But yeah, so that let us emulate the entire physical room while we were programming, because we did all the programming back in January before we even got into the space. I say all the programming, like there was a ton that we had to do and keep changing and adapting on site, but we had already prototyped every single prop in the space. We would prototype the electronics themselves, get all the messages and the API as we wanted them to talk, and then we built up the Node-RED backend, made sure that talked, and then I was able to leave my workbench, go back up to my office, and just handle all those emulated messages in and out, making sure that everything was talking the way it should. So yeah, that's all the cool tools. Definitely helped a lot. Definitely great, especially when you have that in-depth of a setup, to have those options for emulating things instead of having to have everything online the whole time. Once you get into the space, you have everything installed. Yeah, less so. You're there, but it is very, very good for troubleshooting to have some of those tools sometimes.